Dear students, this is your host Monotosh Dey once again in front of you with another episode on learning with a difference. Today we shall study part 2 of the poem A Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. Part 2, as I told you in my previous video, consists of line 27 to line 51. So let me begin. While greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits. Let me explain you the meanings of these lines, line number 27 to 29 to begin with. Greedy good doers and beasts of prey are the civic authorities who exploit innocent village folks by giving them a short-term sense of security. They swarm over their lives. These unprincipled, unscrupulous people shall proclaim to provide these farmers various facilities. But ultimately, these fake promises are an illusion for the people, village people. Now let's move on to lines 30 and 31. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. Let me explain you the meanings of this line. But in reality, they will destroy their sleep and make their lives a living hell by snatching those material things from the rural people. Let's move on to lines 32 and 33. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. The poet says that he can hardly bear the endless weight of the village folks for prospective customers from the city. The poor people's futile expectation for the city money has been compared here in these lines to children's longing for things beyond their reach. Now let's move on to lines 34 to 37. The sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the 1,000 selfish cars that pass. Let me explain you the meanings. In the phrase sadness that lurks, sadness has been personified as it lies in wait near the open window, praying for a city customer to arrive and inquire the price of the village people's products. Now let's move on to lines 38 to 42. Just want to inquire what a farmer's prices are, and one did stop, but only to plow up grass. In using the yard to back and turn around, and another to ask the way to where it was bound, and another to ask would they sell it a gallon of gas. Explanation part. If any city goer ever stops at the roadside stand, it is either to reverse his car, to ask for directions, or to ask if he could buy fuel for his car. The city dwellers do not stop at the roadside stand for buying the products of the village people. Okay, so now let's move on to the next line, that is 43. They couldn't, this grossly, they had none. Didn't it see? Okay, the expression they had none here means village people did not have fuel for vehicles to sell. With every passing selfish car that stops, the farmer's hope rises, only to be disappointed later on. None of them seems to be considerate enough to buy the products from roadside stand. This makes the village folk at the roadside stand cross, that is angry. Now let's move on to lines 44 to 46. No country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. or so the voice of the country seems to complain. Dear students, country money is the small income that the poor village folks make. It cannot be compared to the affluence of the rich people in cities. Village people estimate their economic growth by means of the small profit that they earn out of their small business. With such a meager or small income and small profit earned, village people could never experience lift of spirit, as small income can never give additional lift of one's spirit. Now let's move on to lines 47 to 48. I can't help owning the relief. In fact, the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. Let me explain the meaning of these lines. The poet wishes to lift the poor people out of their pain, poverty, and endless miseries. But as the reality is absolutely different, he is sad and thinks that death at one stroke can end all their grief and suffering. Now let's move on to lines 49 to 51. And then next day, as I come back into the sea, I wonder how I should like him to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. Let me explain you the meanings of these lines. But the next morning, when the poet came to senses, he realized that his earlier thought of death being the only solution to come out of poverty is useless. Therefore, he decided that government or civic bodies can only uplift the miserable condition of the village folks. This is the ultimate way out. The poet's pain is the yawning, that is the huge gap between the rich and the poor. The poet appeals to party in power to relieve these farmers out of their pains. My dear students, that brings to the end of stanza-wise explanation of the poem. Let me now recapitulate what we have learned from this lesson, which will be followed by explanation of some simple literary devices. The poem is about roadside temporary sheds that come up on both sides of the national or state highways. They serve the road users with food and other items. The poem depicts Robert Frost's scathing criticism of unequal society, where there is a huge division between the rich and the poor owing to unequal distribution of wealth. The poem draws our attention towards lives of these poor people and our sympathy towards them. The poem thus highlights the government apathy or indifference towards the economic plight of these rural people. Now let's move on to literary devices. First is personification, a roadside stand that too pathetically plaid. Roadside shed has been personified as it pleads pathetically for extra cash flow. Next personification is sadness that lurks near open window, which is given in line number 34. Sadness here is personified as sadness lies in wait near the open window. Next is metaphor. First example is flower of cities. Just as flowers are useful, likewise cash flow helps the city people to grow their business. Another example of metaphor is a trusting sorrow. Sorrow due to breaking of trust that city people will buy their products. Next figure of speech or the literary device is transferred epithet. Polished traffic. It depicts the sophisticated urban city dwellers. Selfish curs. refer to people inside the car. Okay, now let's move on to alliteration. Greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey. You can see in the first example, the consonant G is repeated in successive words, and in the second example, the consonant sound B is repeated in successive words. Students, we have come to the end of our discussion today. For questions and answers, please follow my blog, which is literaturewithmonotosh.blogspot.com. Kindly subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for notification of every new concept video that I upload for you. Thanks for watching. Until we meet again with the poem, keeping quiet, good luck and take care.